Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aaliyah, and today we're going to be talking about interior design. A lot of people, when I introduce myself to someone new, they automatically assume I'm a decorator, or they ask me what my favorite HGTV show is. I just want to talk about what interior design is and what we do. Today, my guest is an interior designer from Phoenix, Arizona. She also is NCIDQ certified, and she passed all 3 exams on her first try. So she's going to talk about her experience with the exams. If you've taken the NCIDQ exams, please comment down below your experience or any advice you have for taking the exams. So please welcome Axie. Thank you so much for being here today, and cheers.
Cheers. Thanks for having me. So as Leah mentioned, my name is Axie Tomasi. I am an interior designer here in Phoenix, Arizona. I am an Arizona State University alumni, class of 2015. So I've had the opportunity to more or less mentor and just be part of Aaliyah's design journey as well, which has been really rewarding and awesome to see. So again, thank you for having me on. Just a little background about me. I found my passion for interior design a little bit later in high school when I was interning for a Steelcase dealership back home in Albuquerque, New Mexico. I started out in the accounting department, kind of helping them file and whatnot, and the design aspect and furniture really caught my eye. So they gave me an opportunity to intern alongside some of the designers there and help them with furniture selections and ordering and whatnot, and that's when I really fell in love. And decided to pursue schooling in interior design. It was a little bit of that process, but throughout school, I really found a passion for the architectural aspect of design, which really led me to where I am today, being a healthcare designer at Smith Group in the Phoenix office, focusing with another counterpart of mine, Maria, on healthcare environments, so hospitals, health centers. We're working on some like veterans homes and whatnot. So that's pretty much what I do.
It's awesome. So what has been your experience with the misconception of what people think interior design is?
It happens all the time. It's something that, when I tell people, oh, I'm an interior designer, it's like, oh my God, I'm moving into a new apartment. Can you come help me decorate my house? And I have to kindly tell them, yes, I would love to from a personal level, but that's not what I do. So I've actually resorted to introducing myself as a commercial healthcare designer. And it's really interesting to see people's wheels kind of start turning. Because unless you're in this industry or something like this, you don't really think about the fact that the built environment was designed by someone. The house you're sitting in, the house I'm sitting in, someone designed this. Yes, we put our own flair on it, but someone had to design the architecture of it. So that's really cool, especially from a healthcare side.
So what do you think the difference is in interior design and interior decorating?
So first and foremost, I think the biggest difference is the architecture aspect of it. But actually, if you don't mind, the CIDQ website has a really good definition. If you head to CIDQ.org, but there's a couple definitions that I really think help clarify for people really what it is. So it says, interior design is a distinct profession with specialized knowledge applied to the planning and design of interior environments that promote health, safety, and welfare while supporting and enhancing the human experience. So I think that applies, of course, to commercial, but it also applies to residential as well. I know decorating is more, people automatically assume you do homes, right? Mm-hmm. Whether you're staging or kind of helping design that aspect. But even then, your home is an experience. How you experience your home truly is something that can be impacted by horrible design. If it doesn't function, you're not going to be able to do things around the house well. There's this broad aspect. The decoration obviously can enhance it, but the overall design of it really helps with the form and function of the space that you're in.
What made you want to go in interior design or even specifically healthcare design?
So aside from the internship that I mentioned earlier, of course, that you find something and you get stuck on it, right? So I wanted to be in furniture. My original intent was to go to school, graduate, and go home to New Mexico to work for that dealership. but I fell in love with the architecture side of it. But also there's a realization that you as a designer have an opportunity to have an impact on a person's experience in that environment. So for me personally, why healthcare really caught my attention and why I truly enjoy it is because most people don't choose to go to a hospital or choose necessarily to go to a doctor's office. They're doing it for their own well-being, or they have to go to the hospital. As a designer, if you have the opportunity to create a enjoyable environment in that kind of more or less scary, questionable, intimidating environment, that's what's really cool to me, and that's what stuck with me to be a healthcare designer.
So we are going to talk about the NCIDQ, and I'm just going to give a little bit of information about it, and if you could just add on to it, because I know you know a lot about NCIDQ. So for people who don't know, the Council for Interior Design qualification is the CIDQ. They are the organization for certifying interior design professionals. The NCIDQ is the certification that is globally recognized for interior design professionals. And there are over 30,000 design professionals who are NCIDQ certified. So Axie, if you could just talk a little bit about NCIDQ, what it is or what that is and why someone would even want to be NCIDQ.
You know, I compare it to the architectural exams or like boards exams as a doctor or the bar as a lawyer. It's a comprehensive exam that covers a variety of topics that you've learned in school, as well as your first like 2 to 3 years in your professional career. Obviously beyond that too, there are people that wait a long time to take it, but it is this exam that you take to get a certification that more or less proves that you have learned what you needed to through school. You have knowledge of how things go together, codes and whatnot, to truly prove that you know what you're talking about, basically. So the NCIDQ is important, in my opinion, because you as a designer, myself as a designer, put myself through 4 years of design school, which we all know can be taxing. It's exhausting. Most of the time it's fun, but it's a long process and it takes dedication. So why would you put yourself through that and then just move on and not prove to yourself, to your employers, to your clients that you are dedicated to this career and you want to sit for this? A lot of clients require it. Not only that, it'll give you opportunity with work, but it also has the potential to give you a salary increase. There's facts on the CIDQ website that shows that someone who is certified has the potential to make more money than someone who doesn't.
I went to school in Arizona and now I've moved back home to Seattle. How would that be a factor in moving other locations to have this NCIDQ? Because do you have, in certain states and cities, maybe you do have to have that qualification?
Yeah, you bring up a really good point. So unfortunately, right now, the NCIDQ is not recognized nationwide. So Arizona, for example, you do not have to have your NCIDQ to practice in the career field of interior design. There are quite a few states that do require it. So that being said, it is good to have it. The other perk of the NCIDQ is that it's not state specific. The architectural exam is state specific. Stamped architects have to have stamps in different states. Depending on where you move, if you have your NCIDQ, it doesn't matter. Like, you don't have to take an additional exam, with the exception of California. I would anticipate, maybe not in the near future, unfortunately, but in the future, interior design will be a nationally recognized, if not globally recognized, career. So when that time does come, how awesome would it be that you've already gone through the grunt of taking this exam and you're grandfathered in to this because you already have the exam. Whereas even some of my counterparts in Arizona have never taken it because it wasn't required. So if they want to continue practicing, if this passes, they've been in the industry for 20 plus years, if not more, and now have to go back, teach themselves how to study for hours on end to pass these exams.
So do you want to talk about your experience with the exams and NCIDQ? Maybe just like your timeline of how long you waited, or if you didn't, if you just went ahead and took the exam right out of college?
My intent, as always, was to take it as soon as I possibly could. But life happens, and that's okay. The test was still going to be there. So I did take it, though, within 2.5 years of graduating college. I got the study material early and kind of just randomly started flipping through it whenever I would have some time, just to familiarize myself with the formatting, the wording, how things were going to go. So for me, I am not the best test taker. So I dedicated a lot of time on my part to make sure that I was studying properly. So what that looked like for me was this huge bag of flashcards, which I think I've showed you and a couple of your classmates. It's like freezer size gallon bag full of flashcards that I would carry in my huge purse anywhere I went. At the doctor's office, waiting for like coffee, I would whip those out and just kind of go through them. That's how I personally learned the best. And then also my Saturdays were dedicated to studying. Saturday nights I would treat myself and like go out with my friends and whatnot, but Saturdays in the morning during the day were my dedicated study times. I also have a wonderful studio leader who worked with me to adjust my work schedule that would allow for, I think I did half-day Fridays. So I would work 6-hour days and then do half-day Friday so that I could go home and kind of study on Fridays. But I did take it. I sat for my first exam in October, and then I sat for the next 2 in April and passed all 3 on my first try.
What advice could you give a recent graduate trying to start their career with the NCIDQ? Maybe we should take it. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
I would highly, highly, highly recommend taking the first portion of the exam as soon as you can. The NCIDQ, as any other certification or license, can be a little draining on the finances. Reason being is because a lot of it is based on design theory and other items that you have learned and kind of based your designs off of in college, so that material is more or less fresh in your mind. All you really need is your transcripts and the application to sit for that exam. All 3 exams are computer-based, so as long as you're near a Prometric testing center, which they're all over the country, you have 5 years from the time that you take your first exam to pass the next 2. If you're dedicated and you just want to get it over with, the testing happens in the fall and then in the spring, so you could easily take that. However, there are, of course, work requirements. The reason I was able to take mine so quickly was because I had already accumulated those hours. You might not be able to take those next 2 exams, but at least you're done with the first one. That was kind of more or less information that you learned in college. While you're in the process of interviewing, or even just having the conversation with your director or the person that you report to, say you're already hired on, schedule a meeting or talk in your interview. Ask the question about, 1, the importance of the NCIDQ to them. Like, it should be highly recommended, obviously, and highly encouraged. But even ask from a reimbursement standpoint. I know I was reimbursed when I passed the exam, or even helping with study material. I know some offices will offer to at least like split the cost or reimburse for a little bit. Some of the study material can be pretty pricey. But yeah, don't be afraid to ask those questions of your employer and push them.
Has your workflow been more now that the coronavirus has happened and all these hospitals and healthcare facilities are needing help, or are you still working on new projects, or
what's that been like? We have new projects. I think at the start of this, there was a little bit of concern that the shift was going to be to COVID reactions, and the projects that we were working on were going to kind of be put on hold, but that really wasn't the case. In light of the pandemic, we all go to stores, we all are out and about in the public, whether we should be or not, but we're there. There are these horrible stickers all over the floor or posters all over the walls that I think there will be a positive outcome for this from an intentional design standpoint. We're doing this in the healthcare environment for rehab purposes on patient floors where we have distance markers in the floor with just a color change in the floor. So whereas if you go into a hospital, maybe today, you'll see like a star on the wall that was just like a printout of a piece of paper that says, congrats, you did it. Like you traveled 10 feet or something like that. So what we've started doing with clients is putting these rubber like ticks in the floor with a different colored rubber that patients can use as their distance markers, or staff can then observe their patients in that way. So I think, obviously not with spaces that are already existing, but moving forward, it almost, in my mind, cues this opportunity to have intentional and thoughtful and functional design while still looking nice, rather than building out this brand new facility that then they need to come in and add all these things. Why not be a little bit more proactive about it? And while it serves a function, it also is beautiful and helps enhance the design, rather than putting stickers everywhere, which obviously you can't help that. It needs to be done, because if we were just told to stay 6 feet away, we wouldn't really know what that meant, just frankly. It just helps.
What do you wish the design school taught you that you know now?
So the one thing I wish there was more of, and at ASU, they do this very briefly, but collaboration with other disciplines and just with other people is so important. Most times, if not all the time, as a designer, you're going to be coordinating with an engineer. You're going to be coordinating with a general contractor. You're going to be collaborating with other coworkers that are working on the same design as you. So while there is collaboration in design school within your discipline and project groups, I truly wish there was almost like a full semester. Maybe that's asking too much. Maybe a half a semester where you are doing this full design or full just like concept with other people. So the importance of collaboration is really key to being successful and keeping your head on your neck in design. I think is really important is understanding how things come together. ASU in particular, I know a lot of other design schools are this way. It's very conceptual and kind of up in the clouds, not totally realistic, which is wonderful. I would never want to take that away, because some of my best projects and most fun that I've had was because I didn't have a budget, because I wasn't told that this floating piece that I've designed is not going to work because it structurally just is not possible. I think there's value in exploring your creativity and doing all of that in school, but taking the time to truly understand how a staircase is built, how this piece of millwork, this casework is built to help inform your design from a functional standpoint, that I don't know that school really does the best job at. Sure, we visit construction sites, but like how cool would it be to like start at a construction site, go look at like how the foundation is poured, and then go back a few weeks later and watch the studs go up and understand how that works, and then the drywall goes up, like almost requirement of a construction course, I think would be really beneficial. Obviously, that's not something that you all watching or you and I could really do, but maybe it's an elective that you choose to take, right? Or just now, like I do it all the time. I'm sure you find yourself doing it, of like, you just notice random things that your friends are like, what are you looking at? So don't be afraid to just explore.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here today. I really
Thank you for having me on. This was so fun.